Before I took office, there was a lot of folks out there making some pretty bold predictions about how things would turn out. You might remember some of the predictions.
They're coming for your guns, they're coming for your jobs, and they're coming for your freedom. They hate American energy, and Joe Biden will shut it all down. He's going to.
That if I became president...
If Biden's elected, he will wipe out your energy industry.
Another prediction, that is my favorite one, I must add, is that if I got elected...
Gas prices going $5, $6, $7 for a gallon. Flood your communities with criminal aliens, drugs, and crime while they live behind beautiful gated compounds. They try to take away your guns, Second Amendment, they want to take it away, while they enjoy private security that's fully armed.
I never understood that one.
To spend trillions of dollars rebuilding foreign nations, fighting foreign wars, and defending foreign borders.
So for all those predictions of doom and gloom 6 months in, here's where we stand.
Do you want to use the word recession or depression?
Think of the single mom struggling to put food on the table each month.
You know, it's sad.
So if your primary concern right now is inflation...
We could stop it in 30 minutes.
When I took office...
He finally went outside. He went to get an ice cream.
Look, the bottom line is this.
I say you're not doing a very good job. Because he can't take any questions now from the press.
All right, guys, so we got to talk about Jake Paul, who is a boxer slash YouTuber who has come out and ripped Joe Biden on gas prices, inflation, and claims that Biden voters are the American problem. Now, you know, Jake Paul coming out here and saying this kind of signals that everybody hates Joe Biden right now, which is basically what this video is about, because when it comes to this issue of inflation and gas prices, it ain't just political opponents who are coming out to Joe Biden, but also the mainstream media as well, okay? I mean, this is a rare time in which they're actually calling it for what it is. They're calling it straight and saying, you know what? You kind of have screwed up the economy, right? It is kind of obvious here that whatever you're doing, your policies that you have in place are not good for the American people, and people are suffering because of it, okay? So with that being said, I want to get into this because everybody's not liking the fact that Jake Paul is coming out here and telling the truth about what's going on in this country under Joe Biden. So let's get into it. Jake Paul, a YouTube influencer turned professional boxer, stepped into the political ring Saturday, slamming President Joe Biden on Twitter for the state of the economy and his frequent gaffes and incoherent sentences. He also said unrepentant Biden voters, quote, are the American problem. Paul tweeted, Biden's accomplishments, highest gas prices, worst inflation, plummeting crypto prices, highest rent prices ever, created new and incomprehensible language. If you read this and voted for Biden and still don't regret it, then you are the American problem. Hey, all I'm saying is this. I think he's on to something here, okay? Because, again, a lot of these people voted for Biden not because they like Biden or his policies. They just didn't like Trump. Even though, objectively speaking, the economy was one of the greatest economies we've ever seen under President Trump, okay? Lowest unemployment that we had under President Trump for various groups of people, right, including Black Americans. However, again, you had the same Black people who were prospering under Trump out in the streets dancing, okay, when they found out that their alleged Lord and Savior, Joe Biden, was going to be president of the United States. Well, why did they do that? Well, they did that because CNN told them that Orange man bad, Joe Biden good. Orange man racist, Joe Biden not racist. Even though Biden, again, objectively speaking, has made way more derogatory and what you could categorize as racist comments towards Black people than Trump ever has, okay? But again, this just shows you how the liberal media has played a role in brainwashing people into manufactured consent, despite the reality of the difference between Joe Biden and Trump, right? So with that being said, I think Jake Paul is on to something here. If you voted for Biden, you are responsible for some of the things that we're seeing right now. I'm just saying. But you know, hey, Biden's saying something different, right? He's saying that the economy is actually great despite what everybody else is actually feeling and observing for ourselves.
The job market is the strongest it's been since World War II, notwithstanding the inflation. We added another 390,000 jobs last month, 8,700,000 new jobs since I took office. An all-time record, never that many jobs in that period of time. Unemployment rate is near historic lows. Millions of Americans are moving up to better jobs and better pay. And since I took office, families are carrying less debt on average in America. They have more savings than they've had. And we're doing it all while cutting the federal deficit by $1.7 trillion this year and $320 billion last.
Inflation hit a 40-year high Friday. Gas prices have doubled since Biden took office. Americans are struggling to buy homes and pay rent, and some economists predicting the country will soon enter a recession. Paul received some praise from conservatives on Twitter and much scorn from leftists. Quote, never thought I'd retweet Jake Paul, but here we are. This is 100% spot on, wrote the Chicks on the Right podcast account. Yeah, he is spot on. Longtime leftist and newscaster Keith Olbermann slammed Paul as, quote, dumber than you look. Crypto prices, Sonny, it really is quite a feat. You're dumber than you look. Well, I mean, crypto is plummeting for the same reason that the stock market is plummeting, in the sense that the Fed has to increase interest rates, which makes the future cash flow of a lot of these speculative companies, tech companies in particular. Now, crypto doesn't have any cash flow, but it's all kind of related in a sense. Well, it makes the future cash flow of these companies less valuable, right? Which makes the valuations of these companies less, okay? And money is becoming more expensive, which means that it costs more money for these companies to borrow money, okay? To accumulate debt, okay? Debt is becoming more expensive. So that being said, that is part of the reason why, you know, crypto is crashing. Some of these tech stocks are crashing. It's because interest rates are increasing. And interest rates are increasing because we're trying to rein in inflation, okay, with monetary policy from the Fed. With that being said, again, maybe the Fed wouldn't be so pressured to increase interest rates if it wasn't for Biden's spending and his policies that have contributed to inflation, okay? So I'm just saying, all this stuff is kind of interrelated to a certain extent. Paul's tweet drew the criticism of controversial Washington Post columnist Taylor Lorenz, who noted, quote, Jake Paul's third biggest critique of the administration is the price of crypto going down. Liberal journalism professor Jeff Jarvis replied to Lorenz's tweet mockingly, quote, creating a new incomprehensible language is intriguing. Biden can personally lower the price of gas, raise the price of crypto, and invent words. Man, he's powerful. He's Webster. Democrat Arizona State Representative candidate Ron Stee criticized Paul, including for his race. Jake Paul proved why he is an idiot. Let me educate you, rich white boy, she wrote before launching into his point-by-point response. He says, gas prices are high worldwide. Inflation is high worldwide. Crypto is not controlled by Biden as much to send out a few tweets manipulating the market. He has a stutter. Who controls rent? Yeah, so these people are trying to deflect all the blame away from Joe Biden. Joe Biden has no responsibility whatsoever, according to them. Left-wing Princeton professor Kevin M. Muse tweeted in response to Paul, quote, is he Biden responsible for your apparent head trauma too? Wow, they really going after this man. So the leftists got triggered because they came out because Jake Paul simply criticized their Lord and Savior, Joe Biden, for the economy, okay? But they don't want Joe Biden to take any responsibility whatsoever. However, it's not just Jake Paul that is criticizing Joe Biden. Again, of course, you have Joe Biden's political opponents, particularly the Republicans, the GOP, also coming out here and criticizing Biden for his policies and the role that they played in the current economy that we're seeing, as Ron DeSantis ripped Joe Biden, again, for gas prices. Take a look.
We want to get your thoughts as well on gas prices hitting another record high, hitting everybody in their pocketbook. Every part of every state, every business is affected by that. This administration seems to not have any proactive solutions to it other than blaming Putin.
Well,
What do you say?
they're the cause of a lot of it. Joe Biden came into office and declared war on American energy. We were energy independent for the first time in my life. When he came into office, he had sweeping executive orders to try to kneecap American energy production. And look, this is a global market. It's not just the U.S., but he has made it way worse here in this country, and they will not reverse course. This is just a religion for them to be attacking energy production in the United States. And people are paying at the pump like never before. It's hammering blue-collar people, working people. But as you said, it impacts everything in the economy, because when those energy prices are skyrocketing, transportation, the cost of goods, and so you're seeing that is the number one driver in the inflation. We see also the fact that they printed trillions of dollars that we didn't have. But those two factors have created really a hellish scenario, and now we're on the precipice, if we're not already, in a formal recession. Maybe that won't happen now, but I think everyone's looking at it and say, under Biden with his policies, he's going to plunge this country into a recession.
Yeah, so what I find to be interesting in regards to the argument from the left is that they say, well, you can't blame any of this on Joe Biden, right? And the reason why is because this stuff is global, right? All this stuff is happening over the world, so therefore Biden takes no blame, even though we have the largest consumer economy in the world, and maybe overstimulating our economy can have ripple effects throughout the world, okay, if all this stuff is interconnected, okay? So here's the thing. If that's the case, then how in the world can you blame all of our problems on Putin? If you can't just blame Joe Biden, who is the president of the largest economy in the world, how can you blame just Putin for inflation and gas prices when inflation and gas prices were going up before the war in Ukraine? Right? Again, that logic doesn't really make sense to me. But hey, you know, I'm not the only one saying this. Even the mainstream liberal media is calling out Biden's economists on this everything is Putin's fault claim.
The latest consumer price index numbers show inflation rising at the fastest pace in more than 4 decades in this country to 8.6% for the 12 months ending in May. Experts say the spike in the cost of gas in particular, but also food and housing, is driving inflation higher. Joining me now, the chair of the White House Council of Economic Advisors, Cecilia Rouse. Good to have you on this morning.
Thank you.
You've seen those numbers. I know you're well aware of them. I wonder, does the White House see any relief in these numbers for Americans in the near future? And if so, when?
So, look, the president very much understands, and we very much understand, that we've got uncomfortably high inflation. What we saw in the data this month was that month on month, prices increased overall. The headline CPI increased about 1%, and about half of that was due to food and energy, which can be almost directly tied to Putin's invasion of Ukraine. And so,
but it's not just that, you know. It's not. Prices are rising. I get it. I get the world oil markets are up, but as you know, prices are rising for everything: used cars, rent.
Absolutely. And so the president understands that. And so he has emphasized, he's focused on this, you know, as part of his plan. I know this doesn't sound like a plan, but first and foremost, he respects the independence of the Federal Reserve. Prior presidents have tried to interfere with the actions of the Federal Reserve Board as they try to address inflation for political reasons. And this president has said he is not going to do that. Rather, he would like to follow fiscal policy that is complementary to what the Federal Reserve is trying to do. So, for example, this requires working with Congress, and so he does need Congress to work with him. Increasing taxes on the very wealthiest Americans, on our biggest corporations, which would reduce the deficit, would help address inflation while also reducing the deficit. He also wants to work with Congress to address those costs that he recognizes families face in terms of in prescription costs, childcare, and energy costs. He is looking for what he can do administratively, whether that's working with oil companies and refineries, asking them, we recognize you've got capacity challenges. What can we do to help you maintain your refining capacity and bring more oil online? So he is doing what he can unilaterally, but some of this will also require Congress.
Yeah, so as you guys heard there, the Biden administration economic official actually got called out from CNN for the whole everything is Putin's fault claim, okay, which again, you know, is kind of a lame excuse at this point. Okay, people want action and not excuses, okay? And that is why you have people like Jake Paul coming out here saying enough is enough, right? You Biden voters are the problem because Biden keeps trying to tell us that up is down and down is up, left is right, and right is left, and people aren't falling for it anymore, okay? Prices are too high. Things are too out of control when it comes to inflation, the economy, and it looks like we're going into a recession, and it is everybody else's fault except mine. It's not an excuse anymore. Let's be real. So with that being said, we'll see what the Biden administration does. But let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.